Do you actually know why your partner started pulling away? Not the reason they gave you, the real one. Because most people never find out. They notice something shift. The texts get a little shorter. The laughs take a little longer to arrive. The silences that used to feel comfortable start feeling like something else entirely. And instead of understanding what happened, most people do one of two things. They either push harder, or they pretend not to notice. Both of those responses make it worse. And here's the part that stings. The thing that started the distance probably wasn't a fight. It wasn't a betrayal. It was something small. Something you did consistently, without realizing it carried any weight at all. Something most people do without ever being told it's a problem. That's what this is about. Not the dramatic endings, the quiet ones. The ones that happen in slow motion, while both people are still showing up, still saying, "I love you," still believing everything is fine. 1. You stopped being curious about them, and they felt it. Think about the last few conversations you had with your partner. Really think. Were you asking questions, or were you waiting to talk? There's a version of a relationship that looks like connection but isn't. It's two people who know each other's stories so well that they've stopped asking new ones. You know their coffee order, their childhood, their opinions on most things. So you stop checking. You stop wondering. And they feel that. Not as neglect exactly, but as something quieter. Like they've become furniture in a room you stopped noticing. Researcher Arthur Aaron spent years studying what keeps couples genuinely close over time. What he found wasn't romance or compatibility. It was the simple act of being genuinely curious about the person across from you. When curiosity dies, the relationship doesn't end. It just slowly stops feeling like something worth staying for. There's one pattern, we'll get to it at the end, that most people only recognize after the distance has set in. 2. You made their emotions your problem to solve. Your partner comes home frustrated, or sad, or just quiet in a way that doesn't have a clear reason. And without thinking, you try to fix it. You offer solutions. You reframe the situation. You remind them it's not that bad. It all comes from care. They feel it as something else. Like they're not allowed to just feel the thing they're feeling. Like their emotions are an inconvenience you're trying to make disappear. Psychologist James Gross studied what happens when people feel their emotional experience is being managed rather than witnessed. The word he used was suppression. Not the person suppressing themselves, but the relationship suppressing them. Over time, they stop bringing the hard things to you, because they've learned, without a word, that bringing it means being fixed, not heard. Here's what's uncomfortable about this. The impulse to fix comes from love. It just lands like control. But here's the part most people miss. The impulse to fix and the impulse to pull away are running at the same time. One person tries harder, the other goes quieter. 3. You treated consistency like it was enough. You showed up. Every day you showed up. You were reliable, dependable, present. And at some point, you started to believe that showing up was the same thing as connecting. It isn't. And this is where it gets interesting, because the research on this is not what most people expect. Psychologist Harry Rees spent years studying what he called responsiveness, the difference between a partner who is physically present and one who makes the other person feel genuinely seen. What he found: presence without responsiveness doesn't just fail to strengthen a relationship, it weakens it. The person being shown up for starts to feel more alone than if they were alone. Consistency is the floor, not the ceiling. A relationship where every week looks almost identical to the last starts to feel less like safety and more like stillness. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about the difference between a partner who is there and a partner who is paying attention. One is physical, the other is emotional. The person across from you can feel which one they're getting every single day. And hey, if any of this is landing for you, hit like and subscribe. That's how we reach more people who actually want to understand what's happening beneath the surface before it's too late. 4. You stopped protecting the relationship from the outside world. Here is where it gets complicated. Early on, the relationship had natural borders. You were both choosing each other consciously, out of everything else available. Then it became established. And without either of you deciding this, it moved to the bottom of the priority list. Work stress bleeds in. Family demands bleed in. The general noise of adult life bleeds in. And the relationship becomes the thing that absorbs the overflow instead of the thing you protect from it. Here's what nobody tells you. Your partner isn't pulling away from you. They're pulling away from the version of the relationship that keeps asking them to be last. Miss that distinction, and every conversation about the distance will target the wrong thing entirely. Your partner doesn't need you to be perfect. They need to feel like the relationship is something you're actively choosing, not just maintaining. The moment someone starts feeling like the latter, they begin, without either of you noticing, to grieve it while still inside it. But the previous 4 all happen in the space between people. This next one happens inside a single conversation. 5. You confused honesty with delivery. You said the true thing, but at the wrong moment, in the wrong tone, with an edge that turned a valid point into something that felt like an attack. And when they reacted, you focused on being right, not on how it landed. Honesty without awareness of delivery is just unfiltered output. Over time, a partner who regularly experiences your truth as an ambush starts to armor up before conversations even begin. They just arrive slightly defended, every time, until that defensiveness becomes the relationship's normal temperature. 6. You let small things accumulate without naming them. There's something else happening here that almost no one talks about. Every relationship develops a ledger, not a conscious one, but a felt one. Small moments where someone felt dismissed and didn't say so. Small disappointments too minor to raise. Small imbalances that felt petty to name. None of those things would be worth a conversation on their own, but they don't disappear. They accumulate. And at some point, the person carrying them stops feeling like they can bring anything to you, because they've been holding it so long that raising it now would mean explaining everything at once. So they say nothing. Again. And the ledger grows. Researcher John Gottman called this flooding, when someone carries so much stored emotional weight that even a minor conflict triggers a complete shutdown. The shutdown isn't caused by the argument in front of them. It's caused by every conversation they chose not to have. This is also where the loop I opened at the beginning closes. The pattern most people only recognize after the distance has already set in, it's this one. Not the big failure, the long silence before it. And the last one. This is the one that changes everything. 7. You stopped letting them feel chosen. In the beginning, choosing them was obvious. It was active. They could feel it. Then the relationship became a given, a fact of life rather than a daily decision. And without either of you noticing, the feeling of being chosen disappeared. Not the love, the feeling of it. There's a difference between someone who loves you and someone who makes you feel like they'd choose you again. Right now, today, knowing everything they know. That second thing is what people are actually asking for when they pull away. Not more affection, not more time, just a clear signal. Out of everything available to me, I still want this. When that signal goes missing, people don't usually say so. They just start wondering what it would feel like somewhere else. The signals were there before the silence. The question isn't whether you saw them, it's whether you're willing to look honestly at what you were doing while they were sending them. And if any of this is hitting closer to home than you expected, that's worth sitting with. Seeing these patterns doesn't make you the person who got it wrong. It makes you the person who stopped pretending not to see. That's not a small thing. Most people never get there. Which one of these did you recognize immediately? And which one took you a few seconds longer than you'd like to admit? Tell me in the comments.